back. Hoops Dramas Podcast. Adam Shalfo and Hami Rain. Moving on to the Pacific Division. And once again, we have the same five, which makes things easy. But that's not to say that this is an easy division to evaluate. Yeah. I think it's really close. I don't think that there's a bad team in this division, and that's the first thing I want to say.
Yeah, well, the Kings, it feels like they regressed last season, right? Like they just felt just a little lower, a little off.
They were starting to get it together, and then
it's such a bummer. It's such because I really loved watching them that 2 seasons ago when they were kind of surprising everyone, and everything seemed to be going their way. It's a bummer where that franchise just keep backpedaling when they should be. It's like they're on a treadmill. But like they're like at the back of the treadmill for some reason.
Also, talk about a tough division to play in.
It's always so tough, always tough. And
I think the Suns are good too.
All of a sudden, the Suns. I was about to mention them. The Suns are like known as the joke usually. Now the Kings, it's like the Kings and the Suns were the joke. But now it's like the Kings. It's a bummer because everyone else kind of like did a little bit better, or The Warriors, I don't think they'll be bad enough to be on the Kings level this season, But you never know. I mean, if some of these guys get hurt again, that's all it takes, really. Just like Curry or Draymond going down.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the Kings, and I just really hope that they're patient with Luke Walton here because it's not his fault that they are on paper the 5th best team in the division. That doesn't mean they have a bad team. Like De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, who I wouldn't be surprised is dealt, Harrison Barnes, even Jabari Parker, who had a really nice bounce back season last year. Marvin Bagley, Hassan Whiteside, Rashawn Holmes, even Frank Kaminsky. I like Frank Kaminsky. I mean, he's not like a stud, but I like him. The problem is, they're obviously not the Lakers and the Clippers, the Warriors, or even the Suns. So yeah, they're our number 5.
Yeah, they're just 5 basically just by I guess default. I don't know. Yeah. I guess because everyone else just seems a little more talented.
Yeah, they're not going to make the playoffs, but they'll flirt with it.
It sucks. Yeah, I mean, it's a bummer for if I were a Kings fan. Yeah, I just I don't even know what I'd do, honestly.
If they were in the East, they're probably in the playoffs.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. It's too bad that, I don't know. If only we could have some sort of, conference realignment where we could just have the Kings play in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
And just see what happens. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of crazy to consider when, all the other teams got better. In the Kings, like,
once the Lakers
got about the same.
Once the Lakers got LeBron, if I were a Kings fan, I'd be like, "Fuck, are you serious?"
Yeah.
Like the Lakers were around where we were in the standings.
Yeah.
Now the Lakers are all of a sudden, the Lakers are back. I really don't know what I'd do, but because if I were a Kings fan, I don't know. I wouldn't say I'd take a hiatus. That's so easy for me to say because my team has been in the playoffs in the last 20 years, right? My team has been in the playoffs, half of that at least. The Kings have only been in the playoffs for like those 4 years, and then that was it.
It seems like they just have not been good since the Chris Webber days, which is just
literally. I think their last playoff appearance was 2006, right?
Jeez, is that so?
I think so. 05-06, and if they miss the playoffs this year, they will be the longest drought. That hasn't made the playoffs. The NBA playoffs, which half the conference makes it.
They extended it to 14 years. Yikes.
And like they're catching up with the Timberwolves, who only made it once. That's another franchise that seen so much shit over a lot of manure over the years.
Yeah, and they barely made it that year. But it's just a shame because like they could definitely be a 500 team. Like they're deep. I do think Luke Walton's a good coach. They have some really exciting players. Like De'Aaron Fox is one of the most exciting young players in the league. And there's a world where maybe they sniff the playoffs if De'Aaron Fox just goes absolutely crazy. Buddy Hield is one of the fastest players in the NBA. And when he gets hot, he's super hot, but he was super not at times in the bubble. And so I really don't know if he's there for the long haul. Harrison Barnes, similar, like can be a really good scorer or completely disappear. Jabari Parker has been a question mark with his health for most of his career, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's another guy. Like you talk about a guy who is kind of a microcosm of the Kings franchise. It's probably Jabari Parker because when you look at his career, you're talking about a guy who was a number 2 pick, and honestly, I thought he'd be better than Wiggins. And I know it's not saying much, Andrew Wiggins, but it's like, I always thought Jabari would be a really good player, and he tore his ACL his first season, right? Or like late in the year, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if
And then
it's
he
like
tore it
first or
again.
I mean, he very early in his career.
Maybe second year of his career, something like that. But then again, like the next season, something like that
Yeah,
happened.
just constant knee injuries.
But it's good that he's like, he's getting some play time. Even though he just really, you can just tell, he's just not the same. Even like his body language, it's just, you know, I don't know. Like, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that guy was just, he
Remember when
lost
this team
the initial
took
level.
Marvin Bagley instead of Luka Doncic?
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, those are just, that's just what they do. But I remember Luca, having it was a really mixed bag, before the draft, in terms of, should he go first and something like that. Some people were sure that he should have gone first. Uh, I thought the Suns, like when I found out that they hired his coach in, wherever it was, whatever, Slovenia or whatever, right?
Right.
If they hired his coach, I don't know if it was there or if it was like the national team coach or something like that. Maybe it was the Real Madrid coach. I don't know.
And
I don't know.
Aiton's been really good, but like yeah,
He's
no one's
been
been
good, but like
Luka.
yeah, but so like I thought obviously they'd go for him once they had his coach, but then like the day, the week before the draft, people are like the Suns are really leaning towards Aiton, and I'm sitting there like, man, like you you're making this move to I don't know. Like I don't know if they didn't like what they saw or something like that from Luca during the workout or something. Because he's obviously not. He's like Harden. He's like a really elite decelerator guy. Like he's like very good at like the quick movements, like the
Yeah,
the
stop and go.
deceleration, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, step back kind of moves. Like he's amazing in that kind of stuff, and that's like it's just so skillful. It's just maybe like they wanted to get someone who had some kind of I guess some sort of flair, some sort of flash to him. I guess I don't know. And that's the problem with Marvin Bagley is that he will always be, no matter how good he is, he'll always be known as kind of the Sam Bowie.
Yeah. And so I guess to wrap it up on the Kings, I don't know if you have anything else to add, but yeah, it's a good team. It's not a good enough team. They have a lot of good shooters. De'Aaron Fox is a stud. He's super entertaining. Marvin Bagley needs to do more. Hassan Whiteside is an interesting addition. The team that drafted him now has him again. They're like a good deep team. They're just not good enough, and they're in probably the best division in the NBA. So they're just screwed.
Yeah, yeah, definitely the best division because they got a lot of star power in that division.
Yeah. I mean, you could make a case that they have like, you know, how many of the top guys in the NBA? Like in this division, you have LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Steph Curry, like a rising star
You
in
got
Devin
like
Booker.
yeah, Booker's was also like really known, and then you got the point guard himself. Like the guy who, was crazy. But like before Curry exploded, and this is a good transition. We can talk about Chris Paul and the Suns now. Yeah, like Chris Paul he's good enough to have multiple rings. Like that's how good he is.
Yeah,
Obviously people
hasn't
will be
been
like,
healthy,
why
but
hasn't
if
he
he
done it
was,
yet?
maybe they beat the Warriors, and it's a
They
shame,
should have. They should have won that year. Even when he was out, they still had a good chance to beat him. And it was just very unlucky. And everyone talks about 0 for 27. People also talk about that. During that 0 for 27 stretch, they had a couple threes taken away from them that probably should have counted because they called it. They fouled him, and then the guy made the shot, and they're like, "That's an and one," but no, they wouldn't give him the shooting foul or whatever. So yeah, like Chris Paul is that good where he could have he theoretically like you can make an argument that he could have an MVP and a championship ring. People are going to be like, yeah, why hasn't he done it yet? And that kind of shit. But it's just like, it's only one team wins every year. And I think since 2000, it's been like 6 franchises or something. It's like 6 to 8 franchises, something like that. It's not like too much, it's not like the NFL where like out of the 20 years you're looking at like at least 10, 11, 12 champions, right? Different sort of champions. But yeah, like
Chris
uh,
Paul has the number 9 all-time player efficiency rating.
that's crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
and
he's the advanced stats love him. Like the people ahead of him on this list are in this order: Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Shaq, David Robinson, Wilt Chamberlain, Bob Pettit, Kevin Durant, and then it's Chris Paul. I mean, that's a list.
yeah, it's slightly unrelated, but kind of related to the Suns. It's amazing how Charles Barkley really hates analytics, but the analytics makes him look like the greatest player next to Michael Jordan, right? Like the second best player ever.
What,
Like that's how
Barkley?
good. Yeah, that's how
Yeah,
great
he's
his
number
advanced stats
12.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah, just incredible advanced stats, and he's always saying like "fuck that," that kind of stuff. He's a true hooper for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Charles Barkley, he let's just say it. I think he's a wildly entertaining analyst, but he's a much better player than he is an analyst. Let's just say that.
Well, I mean, I think one thing that people kind of forget is that he led the scoring of the dream team. I think that meant a lot to him. Being the
I'm sure
leading
it did.
scorer, and obviously not getting that championship ring, and people are always going to hold that against him. He was also, the Rockets could have played. They could have been playing the Bulls in the '97 finals, but Stockton's gonna Stockton. But
How scary is it though? Like, and I guess we'll get into this more when we get to the team that's probably at the top of our list. The defending champions, but like that means LeBron James and Anthony Davis have the number 2 and number 3 best player efficiency ratings ever, and they're in the same team together. That's
yeah,
stupid.
Davis is another guy who's like the advanced stats are just unbelievable towards him, and obviously LeBron. I mean, anything will look good with his name on it.
Yeah, but yeah, this Suns team, man, like,
Suns made some good moves.
yeah.
One move that no one kind of flew under the radar that I think is a very solid player. I'm really happy they got him. Former Chicago Bull, Etuan Moore, baby.
Ooh, I like each one.
Yeah, he can play. He's like kind of a definition of kind of a role player, kind of combo guard.
He's gonna be a great backup for Devin Booker. I mean, he can honestly play 1 through 3, and so like that's like a good backup player. Cameron Johnson, solid. Dario Saric is like he was good enough last year. Jay Crowder is
Sarge he had a good season last year. Sarge like kind of stepped it up some nights. He's a little inconsistent, but Sarge played well.
yeah, and then like we talked about in part 1 today of recording, Jay Crowder leaving the Miami Heat, and Crowder was like everything they needed him to be in Miami. His time with the Heat last year, he was 12 points a game, 1.3 steals, and getting his 5 rebounds a game, shooting 44.5% from 3. Like that is going to create a lot of space. Chris Paul's going to be able to set that guy up, and that makes DeAndre Ayton better because you must respect Jay Crowder.
Yeah, well, Chris Paul made Capella look unbelievable. I
Yeah.
cannot wait to see what he makes DeAndre Ayton look like, and with a Devin Booker aside him, like next to him.
DeAndre Ayton will be an all-star this year. I'm going to say that right now.
It's still tough to say because there's so many good players in that conference. The conference is too good.
Last
but
year, 18.2 points, 11.5 rebounds. Now you give him Chris Paul. Like, he's working on his three-point shot. It's not great.
How many all-star spots are there this year? Because there's going to be no game. And, a lot of years, I mean, someone will get hurt and someone else will just replace him, and then they'll be known. They're also not an all-star,
Yeah, I'm not sure how many spots. What is it, 12?
I wonder if it'll be either 12 or it'll be 15, something like that.
I'll look that up. How many?
That's, we'll probably find out more towards, once it gets closer to that shutdown period, right? March 5th or 6th or whatever.
And I'll tell you what, man, the All-Star game is going to be wild this year because, like, just with the COVID implications.
No All-Star game.
There is no All-Star game.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's no All-Star weekend. That's why I was asking, how many going to be because there's no All Star
Right.
game,
Okay.
and none of
Right.
that stuff will be
Okay.
happening
Interesting.
this year.
I see that
And
now.
so Indiana, which wasn't a hosted game this year, they're moving to 2024. So they're gonna have to
Okay.
wait a couple. They're gonna have
Well,
to wait a
good for
couple years.
Indiana. Eventually, they get it. I mean, the guy who went absolutely bananas at the end of the in the bubble when the Suns went undefeated was Devin Booker.
Yeah, yeah. But Booker had that amazing run at the end. He had that game winner too. That was a beautiful shot. He had. That was a great swish and everything. Uh, yeah, no, Devin Booker. I'm looking for. I've been watching this guy for a couple years now, and I've liked what I've seen a lot. You know, because he's the guy who, when people talk about, guys who play the right way, he kind of plays like, what people would describe as the right way. He lets the game come to him, what people say, right?
I mean,
He's
he's
very
definitely been
much,
accused of having some empty stat lines. He had the 70-point game when they kind of like
yeah,
cherry picked and did some
no,
bullshit. But
yeah, like that was another thing too. Like they took like I get it, like they took like a picture after the game or whatever. I'm like, well, first you guys didn't win the game, and also
yeah,
like yeah, I get it when people say he kind of has a kind of like a loser's mentality or whatever. I'm actually reading this book now, and actually among his peers and stuff like that, uh, someone said that Pete Maravich was kind of like in NBA circles, he's kind of known as a loser, because he's very much a flashy player, but he doesn't win.
hmm.
So like I thought that like that paragraph about him about Pete Maravich was very interesting. I was like, that's kind of like what people think of Carmelo Anthony, right?
Yeah, I
Like
guess so.
just gets his points and then that's it. He's a loser.
You could say Booker had his breakout season last year. Technically, I mean, he made his first All-Star game. 2 years in
Yeah,
a row, he's averaged
get a little bit better.
26.6 points per game. But yeah, he gets a little bit better. Strangely enough, I feel like he just kind of seemed to turn a corner after Kobe Bryant passed away. I feel like a lot of players found inspiration from Kobe, and I don't know, he just kind of went bananas. His offensive rating last year was 115. The year before it was 109, and so that's a huge leap. And I don't know, man. Like I think that another guy who's just gonna get some really good looks when Chris Paul's on the floor.
Yeah, and again, and that's the problem with this division is that this is such a really good team. Any other year, they'd probably be second in this division bracket ranking thing. So, but just they're good, just not good enough. But I think they're going to make the playoffs in seventh, eighth.
Yeah, they're going to be in that mix for sure. I mean, it's going to be tough, right? Like I think Oklahoma City falls out,
Yeah,
but then you're going to have the Grizzlies, the Suns, the Pelicans, and the Spurs all fighting tooth and nail, and the Warriors.
and the Warriors coming back.
The
Yeah, like
Warriors coming back, and
people.
so like it's going to be competitive as hell. I don't think the Suns are locked to make the playoffs, but I think that they certainly could. I think they're maybe the 8th seed, but like
It just feels like Chris Paul is just too good not to play in the playoffs. I don't know.
yeah,
Like
yeah. I
he's
feel
just
like
such an
probably the
amazing
8th
leader.
seed, right? Like they're going to be
Yeah,
better than
like
the
I can see them.
Grizzlies.
Like I can see them playing because again now they're doing this play-in tournament thing. So if you're the 10th seed, you've got a shot.
That's a good point. That's a damn good point. Yeah, so it's gonna, and they'll be there at least. It's hard to bet against the Spurs, but yeah, they missed the playoffs, so maybe that's the end of an era. The only time they'd missed the playoffs since the late '80s, I want to say '88 or so. What was the year? Dave Robinson gets hurt in the 96-97 season, and then we all know what happened in the offseason. Tim Duncan. And then they didn't miss once since
You know,
until last
another
year.
team, another franchise that also had like I think they probably got their pick through a trade or something like that. But the Lakers got James Worthy fresh off a championship. Like Lakers won a championship and then drafted James Worthy #1. Imagine having that luck.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, that's similar for sure. Yeah, they are according to Vegas, so they're a -134 to make the playoffs. So they're right in the mix there as far as like the Vegas money goes. They got a damn good shot, but it's just gonna be tough to get in, period, because it's the wild west, and the fact that we have them
Specifically, the
as the
Pacific,
fourth
yeah.
best team in the Pacific, uh, you know, that's crazy. Should we move on to number 3?
Well, yeah, that's why, like, specifically in the Pacific, this division is so, like, it can go back and forth either way. I can see the Warriors and the Suns trading spots a lot throughout the season.
Okay. Yeah. Cause I mean, I hate to say it, but, you know, it's just a shame. Like, not having Clay Thompson is going to hurt. I think that, a guy who was critical for the Suns last year is now going to be a guy who's critical for the Golden State Warriors this
Warriors,
year,
yeah.
and that's Kelly Oubre. And I think that's a good jumping off point when we talk about the going into the Warriors, who we both have at number 3. This dude just had 18.7 points per game, 35% from 3, and he's a very good defender. He's coming into his prime. 24, 25 years old. And here's my interesting take about Kelly Oubre. He's got Draymond Green energy. He's a tough guy. The Warriors, we think about, like, sometimes we forget how tough they are because, like, they can be flashy. You could call Steph Curry like a pretty boy, but they're gritty. And Steve Kerr is the coach of that team. And, Steve Kerr known as a shooter, but if you've, seen old games of him playing or anything about him as a coach, that guy's tough as nails. If you've seen him, like, smash that clipboard in half, like,
Yeah, yeah. He has like a very he's like a very, like, kind of like, dare I say, a warrior kind of spirit, when he's like
yeah,
a coach.
he's got a
Uh,
mean
but
streak to him.
yeah, but like the thing is, like, this is the thing that kind of bothers me about people when they kind of like they want to kind of like shit talk kind of Curry or like even Klay Thompson, calling them kind of like maybe pretty boys and stuff like that. I get it; they're really good shooters. They mostly play from the outside, but at the same time, like, getting that good take years and years of grinding, hard work,
Yeah,
shooting a million free throws like a year. Like, there's nothing pretty about the work that goes into, like, them developing their skills. I mean, it's like still a process. It's the whole thing is still a process. Their shooting percentages and stuff like that. Like, it's not like you just magically become like an amazing one day. It's just like it takes years and years of just practicing right by the hoop. The easiest shots that you can imagine, and then them just being just perfecting even the toughest shots. It's incredible. I mean,
yeah.
that's why I never understood, like, people, because they're not super athletic, because they're not super, because if you're super athletic, like, you can kind of have the luxury to coast some possessions. But if you're like a good shooter, you're always moving around, trying to get open.
Yeah, and Kelly Oubre is like we were talking about the other day, the difference between a staple and a paperclip. He's a paperclip,
Yeah,
like he's not a staple of this team, but like he's a good plug-in for Clay for sure. He's not going to be doing the things Clay does, like 37 points in a quarter and stuff like that. But I mean, it makes sense. The hate's gone kind of far on Andrew Wiggins. I Andrew Wiggins is fine. Like he's not going to,
he's
blow the doors off you, but he's fine. He's not a bad player.
yeah, he's in a good situation now. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it all comes down to. It all comes down to a good situation, uh, like being drafted and everything. And
Yeah. He
the
shot
Timberwolves,
34% last year, like
he did actually, like, I
from
think last
3. I
season
mean,
he started off really well, didn't he?
yeah,
Like,
I
with the
mean, he was
Timberwolves.
solid.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
like yeah, because I guess he did. So it's a Warrior shot 34%.
Yeah,
Um,
I know when he was on the Timberwolves, he got off to a great start to the season, and people were like, "Wow, Andrew Wiggins is really starting to turn it around." And then I guess, like, like a month later, it just he gets, regressed to the mean or whatever. But yeah, like, I never thought that he was going to totally flop with the Warriors or anything. They just need him to be even slightly, just around Harrison Barnes level. And it's not like Barnes was, like, incredible or anything. Barnes was pretty good, but even if it was a little worse than Barnes, that's okay.
what's interesting is so they have Andrew Wiggins' age on Basketball Reference. They do not have Kelly Oubre's.
Really?
But yeah, Andrew Wiggins is about to be 26 though. Like he's coming into his athletic prime. Maple Jordan, as they call him. And so I don't know who calls him that anymore. But like
Yeah, that's what people were saying, like, coming out of college. Like, that's crazy, man. It's like someone's a nickname.
Steph Curry's gonna obviously be the. I mean, if Clay is healthy, like the undisputed leader on this team, but it's not going to be the Splash Bros Warriors. It's going to be Steph Curry, and then like some pretty good two-way players. Draymond Green, I think, is going to have to be a big part of that offense as far as like being a secondary playmaker. Um, he's got COVID right now, or at least that's of yesterday.
Yeah,
So
Wiseman too. Yeah,
yeah, so those guys are going to have to kind of work into the rotation here. But Draymond Green's a super important part of their identity this year, I think, especially with no Clay. And so we'll see what he can bring. And you mentioned James Wiseman. Here we go. I'm on record. He's going to be the best player from this draft.
yeah.
7'1",
I was
240, super athletic. He is getting comparisons to David Robinson and Chris Bosh.
Yeah, that's pretty high praise.
Yeah,
Even both those guys just individually. Yeah, like I'm pretty. I like that the Warriors kept their pick. I don't know if they ever really planned on trading it at all because but maybe the Clay situation changed things a little bit. Maybe they did plan to do something with it, but then Clay got hurt. Uh, you always got to be prepared. For one of your franchise guys to go down.
which sucks.
Yeah, it's very sad, but I'm looking forward to seeing Draymond and Steph Curry connecting again. It'll be nice, and I'm him, especially Wiseman. I'm really looking forward to seeing him play with that team. I think there's going to be a lot of lobs from Draymond to him. It's just a lot, just a lot of like nice plays. Now, question: can Iguodala somehow end up back there? Because I think he'd be a great help for them.
I mean, I'd love to see it, but I don't think it would happen.
I probably wouldn't because the Heat would probably have to trade
And
him away
they
or
like
waive him.
kind
But
of, he was a
you,
little stunned, I feel like, when they let him go in the first place.
Yeah, but you would, because Iguodala is probably Curry's biggest fan, uh, or should I say, yeah, Curry's biggest fan is Iguodala, right? So yeah, like
Yeah.
Iguodala is very much on record saying how much he loves playing, with Steph Curry and stuff like that. And I think if they somehow got him back, or just a player of his kind of skill set,
Yeah, that
uh,
would help.
they could, yeah, it would definitely help. And, maybe they'd be more comfortably in the playoffs instead of kind of barely, sixth seed or whatever, which
Yeah.
I think they might get this year, which, isn't bad. But, and I think Curry's going to have a great year. I just hope, he obviously stays healthy and, Wiseman too. I hope Curry and Wiseman, I think that'll be a good,
Very fun
1-2
pick and
punch
roll.
there.
Yeah. It's kind of a deep front court. Eric Pascal or Pascal, however you say that. He had a real
Yeah.
nice year last year. Marquise Chris emerged last year for them. So Steve Kerr did a good job in the in-between year, kind of developing some of the young talent. Uh, a little thin in the backcourt, but this is a
I mean, that's
playoff
another
team.
team last year. I mean, they played really hard last year. Obviously, they won, 14 games or whatever it was, or 17 games. But still, like, their starters, right, last year will be most of the bench this year, right? So
Yeah.
that's not horrible. That's not bad. Paschal, you can do a lot worse than Paschal. Paschal's good.
Yeah. I mean, there's a world where the Warriors are the number 2, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it could happen.
yeah. I mean, which kind of brings us into the number 2. You ready to switch over to number 2 here?
Yeah. Honestly, these first two teams, not really much to say because most of them, the Clippers,
I have a little bit.
mostly running it back, except with Ibaka instead of Harrell.
Well, I mean, the big addition for me offensively is Luke Kennard.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge pickup for them. I think Luke Kennard, when healthy, is one of the more underrated players in the league. He's somebody who can definitely handle a lot of ball handling responsibilities, and that's a luxury for this team. Reggie Jackson, I've never been a Reggie Jackson guy, but like having another guy who can handle the ball, and Kennard was hurt a lot last year, but he averaged 16 points per game. He shot 39.9 from 3 last year. And like I said, a really good passer, a high IQ player. And he's like, I think 24 right now. They don't have his age on Basketball Reference either. But I think that was like a brilliant trade for them. And also, I'm seeing a lot that you're going to see Paul George used a little bit differently this year. We'll see what that looks like. It's interesting they just gave him all that money. But I look at this team up and down, and once again, it is absolutely stacked. You're missing Montrezl Harrell, but so your backcourt or your front court got a little bit worse. I don't know how I feel about, like, I guess Marcus Morris is like a fine, guy at that power forward spot. I I don't know who I could see Ibaka starting over Zubac, frankly. I like Ibaka is also someone you're gonna be able to plug in at the power forward if you choose to do that. Uh, we'll see about the health of Nicholas Batum, but in theory, that guy used to be one of the better 3-and-D guys in the league. You still got Lou Williams. P-Bev is one of the best on-ball dogs in the league. I mean, it's a lot of the same, but I feel like you're pretty much like swapping out Montrezl Harrell, who is one of your key players in the front court, for Luke Kennard, who's going to be a super key player in the backcourt.
Yeah, I actually almost forgot about Kennard. I mean, that was one of the first moves that they made since trading was allowed, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that was one of the first things that happened. Yeah, that's a great move. Because Lord knows that you can never have enough, shooting and stuff like that. And I think he's gonna be a really good player. Uh, but yeah, like I don't have much else to say about the Clippers. They're definitely in a period now where it's more like just show us that you can do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's embarrassing because, last year, I was really high on the Clippers, and, many people were as well. And it seemed like, if you weren't rooting for the Clippers, it was the Lakers, or if it was the Lakers or the Clippers, it would be the Bucks or something like that. People were kind of picking, those three teams. And if the Clippers hadn't won, I always thought the Lakers would. And, that's kind of how it happened. That's the one thing that I did not want to see happen was the Lakers winning, because I
Yeah.
wanted to see, the year, everyone talks about this 2020 year of Kobe and stuff like that, and it would have been very cool for these two local Southern California kids to do it the year that Kobe passed. Obviously it's not the Lakers, but it'd be pretty dope, man.
Good point.
Honestly, yeah, and like also everyone hates him too. It would be honestly the most like Mamba shit ever, honestly,
Yeah.
if they had done that, because they're the champions and they feel like the away team at every game. Uh, yeah, no, like I really, in terms of like the fan base, because you never, the Clippers are never going to be on the Lakers level. But I wonder if the children, like younger kids, are starting to be like, you know, it's starting to be kind of more of
It's
a
getting
choice.
closer. Yeah.
It feels like if you're a Laker fan, you're kind of inherited that fan base because your dad's a Laker fan or something like that, or
Yeah.
that's
Maybe.
your family's a Laker fan, which is like everyone, you know. But yeah, man, not much else to say with the Clippers, but with the Lakers, I
And the
mean,
Clippers are, I just want to throw in a plus 275. So really
okay,
good odds to make the finals. The Lakers are
yeah,
a plus 140. So they're the favorite to win the championship.
yeah,
And like a lot of people feel like they're a lock to at least come out of the West.
yeah, yeah. Now, like to the Lakers, it's just it. It's pretty. I mean, I don't know if I should say rare, but it's I guess I should say maybe it's kind of rare to see
It's
a championship
stupid
team,
how good they are, how
yeah,
much better
already
they got.
become greater. I think the only thing that might come close to it is maybe the Heat from 2012 to 2013.
Yeah,
They got
I
a
asked you the
little
other
bit
night,
better.
is this the best LeBron team ever? I think it is.
Yeah, yeah. This got to be because you have so many great pieces. Now Harrell is not going to be one of those guys who's like you have to rely on him so much for rebounding. He's just another guy that you can just plug in.
He's
He's
pretty
not like
much
a
like their
guy.
Dennis Rodman, like their dirty
Yeah,
work.
yeah,
Like he's not going to be taking a ton of shots, but he's going to be pulling down rebounds. He plays really good defense and is a much better scorer than Rodman. But I don't think he's going to be asked to score at the same rate because you have, I mean, obviously Paul George and Kawhi Leonard did plenty of scoring as well. But I mean, like LeBron and Anthony Davis, everything they do is going to run through them still, no matter who's on that team.
yeah. Like they actually have like another big that can score. Like that's huge. I mean, maybe we'll see. We'll see some alley oops from Harrell to Davis. That kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
And talk about a great fit alongside David. It's a guy who's now a
Yeah,
really good 3-point shooter. Harold coming off just a phenomenal year. 18.6 points per game, 7.1 rebounds. This isn't someone who takes threes, but you're going to be able to kind of have him at center, still be really quick with Davis, who's pretty much a giant guard. Uh, it's going to be dangerous. They're going to be just as quick, and he's kind of he's like a puzzle piece fit for LA.
Yeah, and then also, you just get Marc Gasol for good bonus. That's just like a great move there. That's just like, we don't expect Marc Gasol to do much of anything at this point. He's already proven, even before the championship, that he had a good career. But the championship just made it like icing on the cake.
He's going to be a good passer. He's not going to really do a ton on the stat sheet, but like
just a great guy to have in your team. No matter who you are.
All defensive, or he was the defensive player of the year not that long ago, right? What year was that? Yeah, defensive player of the year. Okay, that was a long time ago. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, I mean the guy's awesome, and now there's rumors that Powell's going to come back.
Yes, I saw that.
Just so they can win a championship together.
Right. Now I know Powell, like he's definitely like done, because when he was with the Blazers, he got hurt.
He didn't even play.
He came back and just to be as a coach role basically. So
yeah,
no, that'd be cool. I mean, Pau Gasol finishing up with, because it was kind of his Laker career didn't end nicely. I guess it was very random. It was very weird. Like they had D'Antoni there with the Lakers, and he was like hitting a lot of threes. He was not playing like Pau Gasol would normally play, and they traded him, or he didn't trade him, but he went to the Bulls then, which worked out great for us.
It was great for the Bulls, yeah.
Yeah,
I would root for the Gasol brothers playing together. That would just be fun to see. But all in all, I look at this team. LeBron James is your point guard. Dennis Schroeder just had a fantastic year. I mean, maybe his best year ever. Like,
probably, yeah.
And
he had that many great years. I mean, because he was mostly off the bench in Atlanta.
Yeah,
he probably started in his last
career high, or I'm sorry, second most points he's ever had. But he had just under 19 points per game. He shot a career high 3-point percentage. The Lakers were lacking in depth in the backcourt, and now Danny Green's gone, but Wesley Matthews is an upgrade, and Dennis Schroeder's there, who's going to play either guard position. Alex Caruso is like fine. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is fine. He's still there. Markieff Morris is still there. I don't think Kyle Kuzma is a good player. He's still there. He's not a bad player either. But the team's loaded. The team's probably going to win the championship.
Yeah, man. Is it too late to say that they've won the offseason? They probably did, right?
They won the offseason, and it's annoying. Like the rich got richer. Like they were the richest team in the league, and now they're like, now it's just kind of annoying. Like, all right, we get it. You're good. They're one of those teams, like if you're playing 2K, which I'm like also not going to do much anymore. I suck at the new 2K game. I'm pretty much done with it. It's just frustrating. But they're one of those teams, if you're like playing somebody and they're like, pick the Lakers, you're like, all right, dude, that's cheap.
Yeah, who are you? So what a front runner. Who picks the Lakers? Come on now.
Yeah, like you're just going to be far and away the best team in the league. Cheap shot.
Yeah.
They're my pick to win the championship. So it is what it is.
Oh man, maybe when we do more of these reviews or previews, I'll come across someone who might pique my interest or something.
When we talk about the Central Division, we can talk about a team that could get in trouble.
Oh yeah, Chicago. I love
the Chicago Bulls. But anyway, I guess that about wraps it up, man.
Yeah. This is a good. We had a good run today, talking about the Southeast divisions. Check that out if you haven't yet. And of course, we did this one, probably the most OP division in basketball right now.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll be back on these. We'll knock out every division. We got enough time to do that before the season starts. And just like the last episode, got to plug our guy Evan Butris. The T-shirts just went out. Thank you. If you are one of the people who ordered one of those shirts, they will be on their way. We're probably not going to do that for a long time, and so good for you if you were able to get in on there. Check out Evan's graphic design work at the Wax Cowboy on Instagram. Go ahead and shoot him a message on there if you're looking to get some work done. And also, I just want to say, go ahead and give us a friendly rating if you enjoy the show. we just hit 1,000 listens, which is pretty cool. We're a relatively new podcast, and so nice little milestone for us there. And we appreciate you if you are one of those listeners. All right. Well, Hami, always a pleasure, my friend.
Yes, sir. Yep. Another one down. Another nickel tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. Who do you want to do next? Tease it out a little bit.
Yeah. We can do maybe some Northwest action, and then what other Eastern Conference?
Okay, yeah. So let's do Northwest. That's some really exciting teams in there. Let's go Northwest, and I feel like we gotta. It's between the Central or the Atlantic. Let's go Central.
We'll save the Atlantic for like the last day.
Yeah, in case James Harden becomes a Philadelphia 76er.
I can't wait.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, until then, we'll talk to you guys later. This Hoops Around This podcast.